Everybody, this is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of the Ask Dr. Nick Show. I am excited to be here with you today. I know this is Monday. I'm almost ready to get going to Scottsdale this weekend. This is the best time of year. I grew up in Phoenix until I was about 10 years old. So this is the best time of year to be in Arizona, is that spring training time where it's like 80 and sunny every single day, and it's the best. So I'm excited about getting out there. All right, so this week we've been talking about ways to make 2020 your best year yet. Some of the different tips that I have for making 2020 a great year. So our questions are around that topic. So without further ado, first question: how can I make 2020 my biggest year in practice? A lot of what we talk about on here is marketing and how to generate new patients, how to create more influence, how to attract more people to your practice. And all of that is great. But if you do not have good systems in place in your practice, that you can get all the new patients in the world, but if you've got a leaky bucket and they're just going out the side door and the back door, and you don't know where they're going, and you're always having to replace people with new ones, you're just gonna get frustrated. No matter how successful you are with marketing, you're gonna get frustrated. It's something that we're always working on in my practice, just because I'm mainly focused on the marketing side of it. So when the numbers don't grow the way that I would like them to, I usually know where to look, and it's usually based on, the three things you got to focus on are attraction, conversion, and retention. And so I'm always trying to increase those conversion numbers, increase that retention. The way I look at it is, if I'm always going to try to do the most that I can when it comes to marketing and try to drive as many people through the door. But if we can convert them at a higher rate, if we can keep them at a higher rate, that means that we'll get busy enough to where the two doctors that I have now, their schedules will be too full to be able to handle all the new patients. And that's when we have to bring on the third doctor, eventually the fourth doctor, the fifth doctor. I mean, I would love to create a chiropractic hospital with 100 chiropractors, and they're all specializing in different things that allow me to market for all kinds of different things. So, when you can get down into the specialties, that's when it gets a whole lot easier to create content and market your services and become known. But when you only have one, maybe two doctors in the office, you kind of got to be a jack of all trades. So my focus is always to try to get, our office busy enough to where we can bring on more providers. So, we're going to talk mostly about marketing after this question, but I just think it gets overlooked. I think there's so much focus on new patients, then there's not enough focus on conversion and retention. So that would be my focus for 2020 is, absolutely do all the marketing things, but get whatever training that you resonate with, that allows you to do a great day one and day two, that creates value for the patients. It's a lot easier to convert people when you're attracting the right kind of people, and it makes it really easy to retain them when you convert them the right way. So that would be my recommendation there. Number two, I hear a lot about TikTok. Should I be on that? So chiropractors in general, I think, are doing very little when it comes to content creation. But it's easy to see your friends or hear other people talk about new exciting things, and it seems like it's the flashy object syndrome. And TikTok is great. You can get lots of organic reach there. There's lots of people interacting. It's a young audience, but there's more and more. I feel like with these platforms that take off faster, they age up a lot faster than they used to. So something that used to, maybe 5 years ago, TikTok would have stayed, 15 and under for years before adults ruined it. But that's happening at a rapid rate. So it's not that it's not valuable. It's just that the only way that you should have a TikTok account is if you're just maxed out on everything else. If you are not maximizing Facebook, if you're not maximizing Instagram, if you're not maximizing Google and YouTube, then you have no time for TikTok. Like, you need to maximize those things before you start spreading yourself thin or distracting yourself with a TikTok account. So not that you might see some people that are there are certain people that, and this is, just content creation in general. There are some people that are just like naturally good at it. They just love it. They can document their lives really well. Maybe they're smart or funny, or they can, like a certain platform, with TikTok, it's really short, like snackable pieces of content. Maybe they're really great at that. Other people are maybe better at long form content, like a podcast. But so if you see somebody who's just like crushing it on TikTok, don't just go running after like, oh, now I have to, like TikTok's not the reason why they're crushing it. It's probably because they've spent a bunch of time. They really understand it. They spend like, they're consuming content on there. So unless you're like just naturally attracted to it, I would just like completely ignore it. And then if it blows up into, like, I still think even like Instagram is hard for most chiropractors to really like see a return of investment on their time and money. Just because most of them just aren't that good at the way that you should be doing Instagram. So Facebook is where the majority of your new patients are. Google is where the majority of your ideal patients are. Google is where they're spending their time. I'm not spending their time looking for answers. YouTube is where they're consuming, video content. So those are really the three that I think are the, and YouTube, like kind of like a distant third, but like Google and Facebook are really the major drivers of where you're going to see your business growth. But if you're like naturally good, like if you like Instagram and you can create a following there, that's great. And TikTok's the same way. But Instagram is definitely, I think, more important than TikTok for a chiropractor right now. But those would be my three, or my four would be Facebook, Google, YouTube, and Instagram. All right. Let's see. Number 3. What are your predictions for Google for chiropractors in 2020? So my prediction for Google is that Google itself is going to make it harder and harder for people to show up organically when people are looking. And this is, I mean, like SEO, like there's 3 parts of Google. There's the Google ads, and this is when somebody's looking for a chiropractor, Google ads, local box, and then the organic listings underneath that. So I think that they're making it harder and harder for the organic results to show up near the top of the page. I'd have to find this, but there was some like somebody who's like a professional SEO that I follow on something was showing like the comparison between like 2019 and 2009 and 2019 of how close to the top, like how many pixels down the organic search results were showing up in those 2 years. And the amount of stuff that they have forced in between the top of the organic results and the top of the search engine page is just, it's huge. It's just massive. And so not only do you now have Google ads at the top of the page, you've got the local box, which you've always had. But then underneath that, the problem that I'm seeing with a lot of people when I do their strategy sessions is that Yelp, what are some other ones? Angie's List. There's all these like referral sites that have kind of hacked their way to the top of those local search results. So even if you're number 1 as like the organic result for Google, for your city, state, and chiropractor, or chiropractor, city, state, even if you're number 1, you're still behind 3 or 4 other websites. The Joint is really good at getting themselves into that top 1 or 2 spot. So even if you're the number 1, like single doctor owned practice in the area organically, you're so far down the page that it barely even matters. Now they're starting to have these these boxes where there are like frequently asked questions, and they're just like the weirdest. Like I don't know who would be asking these questions about, like, if they were looking for a chiropractor, but they're just really weird. And every time you open one, it expands that box. And if people keep clicking on those questions, it keeps pushing your stuff further and further down. And that's on desktop. If you're on mobile, I mean, you've got to really like want to get down to the organic results. So the thing that I think is going to be the biggest prediction for chiropractors on Google is that organic SEO is going to matter less. Local SEO, like the local maps listing, is going to matter more and more and more. And Google ads are going to become super important, and you've got to be really good at those as well. And there's a spectrum on people that manage Google ads on like good to bad. So I think we do a really great job of that. So if you do need any help with Google ads, let us know. But man, do I think that Google ads and local SEO are going to become 10x as important as they were even like 3 to 5 years ago. And then my other prediction for Google would be that they're going to be showing more videos in the search engine results as time goes on, which is valuable if you've got, good YouTube presence. And then also that the blogs, there's just not that many like really relevant pieces of content out there for local searches. Like if somebody searches for, like headache treatment, Springfield, Illinois, there's just not that much relevant stuff other than like people's like pages on headaches. But if you could have like really great blogs that answer questions that people might have, or that add value to people that are searching for those solutions, that I think that they're, Google is getting smarter and smarter about showing more and more relevant content. And I think that blogs will, well done blogs will easily outrank web pages that are more just like informational. I think that the Google's looking to provide content to people where they can. It's just that there's not a lot of relevant content out there that's like written like in blog format for most of these local searches. So, all right. Number 4, what are you predicting for Facebook for chiropractors in 2020? So Facebook, I don't know. It may just be like a sense that I have. It may not be backed up by that much data. But I feel like people are becoming less and less enamored with like spending a lot of time on Facebook. Maybe not like the older set, like 50, 60, 70. I feel like they love Facebook. But, like under 50, especially under 40, I feel like people that want to spend time on social, consuming content from their friends and family, I think that they are on Instagram more than they are on Facebook. So I think that most people that spend their time on Facebook are either on there because they've, like for me, like I spend a lot of time on Facebook, just kind of keeping a sense of like what's going on in the chiropractic world as well as the marketing world. So it's more of like a business tool for me at this point than it is like fun for me to be on Facebook. The groups though are like the biggest thing. I think that that's just going to continue to be the thing that really keeps people hooked to Facebook, like to where they feel like they have to check it because they're getting information from the groups, whether it's like a running group or a chiropractic group. It's just, you're getting on Facebook. That's and the more that you consume of that content that you like, the more that you're going to see it. So sometimes I remember that I'm in these groups and I'm just like, oh, I haven't seen anything from that group in a long time. I wonder if they're like even still active. And I'll look up the group and it's still like, just as active as ever. I must have just ignored it for a long time. And so Google just kind of like, oh, you must not want to see this. So they want to keep me on the platform and keep me checking back into the platform. So they want to show me what they think I think is the most relevant. So I think that, that Facebook consumption time will, probably start to wane here shortly, maybe not hopefully, but maybe in 2020. In terms of what chiropractors are using it for right now, the organic reach is just going to continue to go to zero. Facebook offer ads are going to continue to be less effective. What I do see on the Facebook ads is that I feel like everybody is doing them now. I mean, I just like, it would be hard pressed for me to find, it would be hard for me to have 2 phone calls in a row, like with chiropractors where one of them wasn't either running ads currently or had tried to run ads in the past with like an agency. And I think people are, I've talked to people that have had 7 agencies before. So it's just like people are just they all do the same thing. Like maybe one has, but honestly, like if you're running chiropractic ads, and you're talking to a Facebook agency, it's almost 100% certain that they do the same thing. They may have little tweaks on like how they do the follow-up or something, or what their funnel looks like, but it's the same thing. And that's why it's probably 10% of what we do is Facebook ads. It's because it's just not the end all be all. But I think that as more people try them and are unsuccessful at them, I think that I can already kind of sense it now that even when people are successful, like I was on a call with somebody about a month ago that was with an agency, and they were getting over, I want to say they were getting over, like they used to get over 100 leads a month. And now on like a $800 or $900 ad spend, which is great. And then now they're down to like, I don't know, like 75 or 80. It was still a good amount, but they just like couldn't, they knew that they should be doing something more. They knew that, content marketing should be like more of their focus, but also even like with those leads, they just weren't able to convert them at a rate high enough to be able to make it worth the money, the effort, the stress on the staff. It just, I don't know, like they're talking to me, and on paper they should be super duper happy, with their agency. And they were talking with me, trying to figure out, what they should do differently. So I think that people are starting to, even the ones that are quote unquote successful at it, are starting to like really tire of the whole like Facebook ad rodeo of, that this is the only thing that they do. So I think that less people will be doing them. I don't know if 2020 is the year. I feel like it's still kind of ramping up. There's like, if you've ever like looked at that curve of consumers, there's like the early adopters, the people that'll just like try anything, or the first movers, maybe, I can't remember, but there's like all those stages, like first movers, early adopters, like the general public, and then like the laggards. And by the time the laggards get to it, it's like everybody in the front end is just like over it and like moved on to the next thing. And I think we're getting kind of close to that peak, whatever it starts going over into. Because when I talk to people that are, I'll talk to people that maybe are not as sophisticated as others when it comes to digital marketing or just marketing in general, and they're running a Facebook ad, just because they don't have to do anything. They don't have to have their own strategy. They can just like pay money to somebody. And it's kind of like the old school Yellow Pages, where it's pretty easy to track, like, did this make me more money than it cost me? So I think that pretty much everyone is trying it at this point. So I think that they're going to be less effective. B, I think there's still like some time left where everybody's going to be trying it. But I do think that there's like going to be a tipping point where the people that are consistent with it, that, that continue to add value beyond just the Facebook ad, I do think that effectiveness over time will start to come back, or it'll grow over time as you're creating more value. So that's my thinking with Facebook, is that the ads themselves will continue to be like just overly saturated. But but people like creative is going to really start to make a difference. Like, you know, people that have interesting ads versus just kind of run of the mill ads, like, you know, showing the same video or same picture over and over and over again, I think we'll just continue to get less and less results. But yeah, I think it's the ones that are adding value beyond it. You know, Facebook is, people, you know, even me, I always think of just like, yeah, nobody's on Facebook much anymore. But then when somebody posts something about like their kid being sick or, you know, something great happened in their life, they'll get 600 comments, you know, so obviously, or like, you know, likes or comments, whatever. But there's obviously still people on there. There's still eyeballs there. You just have to make it something that they actually care about and not just scroll past. All right. Number 5, what are some content ideas beyond just blogs and videos I could try for 2020? So I've talked a lot lately about podcasts. Like I think that there's definitely a market for podcasts. I do think that podcasts are built more for the long term, you know, like you've got to be patient with it. Like I actually just I'd never looked at my numbers for this, and I just looked at my numbers recently, and it's growing, but it's growing probably slower than what I've felt, just like from people like giving me feedback. I would have expected the numbers to be a little bit higher than they were this last month. But, you know, it's just like, I just plan on doing this forever. So I just think of it as like the next 30 years. This is the first, you know, I don't know, 4 months, 3 or 4 months of it. So it's like just not a big deal to me, whether it's, you know, some massive smashing success right away. It'll just keep growing and growing and growing. And the consistency is what makes, I mean, you got to add value, but the consistency is really like I think the secret to most of this content marketing success. So the problem is if you're looking for results right away, like if you're looking for new patients to come through the door, like podcast is not going to be great for you. One other thing that I see as a good content opportunity is, you know, creating content within your practice. So like kind of merging the online and the offline. So if you have like workshops, if you can go and speak somewhere, is creating that content, like that longer form content. You can then, you know, do what Gary Vee does, where he takes, you know, like a pillar post, which is like a longer, like, you know, an hour presentation, and then he'll chop it up into smaller segments, basically called micro content. And and also you can turn those into to webinars. You know, you could take that same presentation that you gave as a workshop in your office, and you could use, you know, Zoom or Loom, which it's weird that they rhyme, but LOOM or Zoom, which I'm recording on right now. Loom is a screen recording thing, so you can just like have your slides up and you just talk over them and just use a laptop. And it has like a built-in microphone and camera and all that good stuff. So, you know, again, being able to repurpose content. So don't just, you know, getting people to like get out of their home and like come and sit in your office is difficult to do. So just don't be surprised when they don't do it, and make it easy for them to either consume it live with you, you know, stream it on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and then also record it. You can send it to people that maybe weren't able to make it, you know, their kids got sick or they had baseball practice or something like that. And then you could redo it, you know, as a webinar where you're like just talking over your slides. And that way you've gotten at least one of them out of the way. So you've got a little bit of practice. And so now this is the next time you've done it. And then you've got an evergreen piece of content. You could send it to people. You could store it on a landing page and, you know, give people the URL if you wanted to. So yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting thing that we're going to be kind of messing with and kind of trying to think of how we can help people with that. Because I do think that offline events mixed with online, either marketing or taking that offline content and putting it online is just is a really good way to do it and add value to the people that do follow you and want to hear from you. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope this was helpful for you. If you are looking to grow in 2020, hit me up, and I'd love to be able to talk more about that with you. And if you have any questions,